I don't know what that says about my personality, but I have no qualm standing on a stage with a microphone and pointing to someone and guilting them into giving us a couple extra bucks.
Welcome to Daily Variety, your daily dose of news and analysis for entertainment industry insiders. It's Wednesday, November 26, 2025. I'm your host, Cynthia Littleton. I am co-editor-in-chief of Variety alongside Ramin Satuda. I'm in LA, he's in New York, and Variety has reporters around the world covering the business of entertainment. In today's episode, we'll hear from Ike Barinholtz, the multi-hyphenate star of The Studio and many other TV shows and movies. He's out tub-thumping on behalf of the Motion Picture and Television Fund. He has a personal connection to the organization that he will share, and then we'll dive into the Wayback Machine to show off just how long Variety has been around. We've been around so long that we covered the first stirrings of the MPTF when it was birthed as the Motion Picture Relief Fund of America in the early 1920s. But before we get to that, here are a few headlines just in this morning that you need to know. David Zaslav isn't giving his corporate team any time off this weekend. The next round of bids for Warner Brothers Discovery are due on Monday. It looks like they really do want to get this decided by Christmas. Stay tuned and check out the Warner Brothers Discovery sale landing page on Variety.com that my extremely talented colleague Dan Doporowski put together. It's one-stop shopping for anything you need to know about the Warner Brothers Discovery sale, and you can find it on Variety.com. Televisa Univision channels are back on YouTube. The sides ended a nearly 2-month blackout on Wednesday. That is surely a sigh of relief for Univision. Zootopia 2 is zooming out of the gate for Disney. The long-awaited animated sequel grabbed $10.2 million in preview screenings on Tuesday. This sequel and Weekend 2 of Wicked for Good is going to be the big funnel that drives a lot of foot traffic at the turnstiles this weekend. All of these stories and so much more can be found on Variety.com right now. Now it's time for conversations with industry leaders about news and trends in show business. It's not news that the Motion Picture and Television Fund needs support from the industry, especially from those who have done well in film and television. Healthcare isn't getting any cheaper. Ike Barinholtz is a firm believer in the Motion Picture and Television Fund's ethos of "we take care of our own." And he says he has no problem being annoying and asking people for money, as you heard in the cold open. So Barinholtz is out representing the MPTF's Second Act campaign to sell naming or dedication rights to apartments and cottages on the MPTF's Woodland Hills campus. Barinholtz is taking up this mantle a full century after silent movie superstar Mary Pickford and others started this charity. They were ahead of their time in seeing the need, and this industry has been better for it ever since. Here's our conversation. Ike Barinholtz, thank you so much for joining me today.
It is my pleasure. I have a little bit of free time before I start prepping a lot of food, so this is actually a joy.
I noticed that you were involved. You were part of a new wave of industry folks, bold-faced names that are getting behind the Motion Picture and Television Fund and doing some fundraising, doing some old-fashioned backslapping. And that really struck me because I know one thing that the MPTF is always concerned about is the next generation going to care? Are
Yep.
they going to understand the whole "we take care of our own" ethos?
The MPTF, I joined the Board of Governors this year, and right away they told us about the second act. And I told them literally whatever I can do for you guys, I am your humble servant. I really, really believe in them, and I'm so grateful for them. So I told them anything I can do. That I have very, very little power in this business, but whatever power I do have, I would love to help this amazing organization, which their whole raison d'etre is just to help our people, and our people need help.
Does fundraising, does emceeing, hosting an auction, does that come natural to you, or is that something you have to gear yourself up to do? I'm curious.
No, it's funny. It comes very natural for me to be annoying and ask people for money. I don't know what that says about my personality, but I have no qualm standing on a stage with a microphone and pointing to someone and guilting them into giving us a couple extra bucks. I've done it for the MPTF, and I've done it for some other organizations in and around town, and I'm just a real nudge.
That is a great skill, especially this time of year. You came up the ranks as like all things at once, writer, actor,
Yes.
comedian. When did this great industry association come on your radar?
I had heard about them a little bit throughout the years, and then maybe about 10 years ago, I think was the first time I went to they have a couple parties every year before the Oscars, the evening before the Emmys, and I went to one of those parties, and I just learned a little bit more about what they do. And then a couple years ago, my cousin, my much beloved cousin, Michelle Rifkin, who was a writer and a member of the WGA for many years, she has since sadly passed away. Towards the end, she, like a lot of people in this business, needed help. And she reached out to the MPTF, and the MPTF was there. And she actually spent some time at the residences. And so, really, once I learned exactly what they do, I said to Courtney Bailey and Bob, I said, "What do you need from me? What can I do for you guys?" And I learned that it's much more than just the residences, right? The MPTF is there for people in our business. If you need some help, if you need some counseling, if you need emergency financial assistance, we have a lot of members who are much older. And the MPTF has people to help them navigate things like the VA system. And so when they came to me this year and said, "Hey, we're starting our second act program. Will you join the board of governors?" I could not have said yes quickly enough.
And really, it's just mind-blowing to think about before Social Security was in place, people
Yes.
like Jean Hersholt and Mary Pickford were thinking, "We need some kinda safety net." And your emceeing is gonna help make people understand why giving a couple of bucks a paycheck to the MPTF is a good idea and supporting their telethons. They often have one on KTLA that I always watch.
I got to do that last year with my dad and my brother, and it was amazing bringing my dad into all that. And it really is, just to harp on what you said, it really is just like a couple of bucks. You know what I mean? It really is a thing where it's like, and I hate to be cliche, but it's like instead of buying a couple coffees in a month, just take that money and send it to the MPTF. And if all the union members alone just took a buck or two every month, we would make our yearly budget every year, and we'd be able to do so much more. So I think sometimes when people give, there's a thought, oh, I have to give $10,000, I have to give thousands of dollars. No, we will take any amount.
Okay, Ike, let me ask you. So, Bob Betcher, one of the
Yep.
leaders of MPTF, walks into Sal Saperstein's office and says, "Okay, I need a capital campaign. I need you to get out there. I need you to seed the first million." What does Sal respond?
Well, Sal, by his nature, is a yes man. But one thing I will say about Sal Saperstein is despite all of his flaws, he truly loves show business. He really, really loves it. And it's a huge part of him. And, there's lots of organizations out there that's their mission statement is to help people, but the MPTF is the biggest one that helps the showbiz people, and not just actors. We're talking writers, we're talking costume designers, we're talking builders, all kinds of people. And Sal understands that. And I think Sal does understand his obligation to this business. And so Sal would say to Bob, "Whatever you need, Bob," and would instantly start reaching out to his famous rich friends in the industry. I could see Pedro Pascal given 50 grand. I could see Leo given 50 grand. I could see all the guys that Sal has worked with and made money for. He would have no problem reaching out to them and asking them to donate. Maybe he takes a tiny finder's fee, but at the end of the day, I think Sal loves show business so much that he understands the importance of the MPTF.
I think you got the outline of a studio episode. Think of the guest star possibilities.
My God, this is how season 3 should open, I believe, where it's an all MPTF episode.
And oh my god, with the residents out there in Woodland Hills, so they have stories, they have charm, they have the anecdotes, they have the receipts, as it were. Such a wealth out there. Ike, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for putting your energy toward this great cause.
I'm so grateful that you are entertaining me. We are so, so proud of this organization. And we just really want people to know two things. One, if you can donate anything, please do. And also spread the word. A lot of people in our business don't know about the MPTF and they're struggling right now. And so it's really important for if you're listening to this and you know someone in the business who needs help, send them our way. That's what we're here to do.
MPTF.org. It's not hard to find.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much, Cynthia.
And now, let's look a little deeper at the roots of the Motion Picture and Television Fund as covered in the pages of Variety. More than 10 years before FDR would implement Social Security, Mary Pickford and a few others realized that the factories that served Hollywood had an obligation to support some form of retirement and health care plan for older workers. Pickford, of course, was one of the founders with Charlie Chaplin of United Artists. For the Motion Picture Fund, Pickford worked with United Artists executive Joseph Schenck. They recognized Hollywood's need for a collective safety net that is still greatly needed and much used today. The MPTF dates its origins to 1921. The first mention in Variety of the industry-wide effort to set up a charitable fund came fully 100 years ago. On December 30th, 1925, Variety devoted 2 sentences to a burgeoning effort in Hollywood to establish a charity to help the needy and the infirm. Here's the full story.
Picture charity forming. The Motion Picture Relief Fund of America, a charitable organization for the needy among the picture colony, has voted for the establishment of a temporary home for worthy indigent and incapacitated members of the profession. It is expected that immediate arrangements will be made to start the institution.
Another big force in the early years of the MPTF was Jean Hersholt. Hersholt was a Danish-American actor who was a big star and very popular in the industry in the 1920s and 30s. Hersholt used his clout to help the MPTF achieve a dream that was articulated by Mary Pickford, building a retirement home for hardworking industryites. Hersholt was creative in finding ways to fund the construction of the retirement home. One very important initiative was the radio drama series called Screen Guild Theater. It aired on the national CBS radio network from 1939 to 1952. Actors donated the fees that they were to be paid for the show to the Capital Campaign to support the home. Hersholt was not only a busy actor and active in the civic life of Hollywood, but he also had a good eye for real estate. He personally found the 48-acre plot that became the Woodland Hills campus of the MPTF. Here's a story that ran in Variety on December 2nd, 1940.
Screen Guild Theater renewed by Gulf through 1940 to 1941. Screen Guild Theater has been renewed by Gulf Oil, ensuring its continuance through the 1940-41 season. With the completion of the current series, the Motion Picture Relief Fund will be used for construction of a home for indigent industry workers. Jean Hersholt, Prexy of Relief Fund, said sites are being studied and decisions soon will be made. It has been indicated that the institution will be located in the San Fernando Valley.
In that same December 2nd, 1940 issue, the back page is devoted to an advertisement that has a message for the town in giant letters. Whatever you do, don't let Louis B. Mayer down. Side note, the community chest is not just a thing from Monopoly. It was a regional and national charity structure that was a precursor to the United Way. Here's the full advertisement.
Tomorrow is a red letter day. In the motion picture industry, at 12 o'clock, a big meeting will be held at the Biltmore Hotel, and in the presence of officials of the community chest, city officials, important businessmen, and executives of the motion picture industry, Mr. Louis B. Mayer will make his report to the community chest. This event will broadcast through the facilities of KFWB and NBC. At this time, the Motion Picture Committee hopes to announce the largest combined subscriptions ever shown in a charity drive in this industry. Have you contributed? If you haven't, do it today, immediately, so we may add to the gross and you will be proud of the industry you are a part of. Remember, the Motion Picture Relief Fund gets 10% of the first $300,000 collected and 20% of the amount over this sum. So be liberal and give.
In sum, Variety has been there every step of the way to chronicle the MPTF. It is one of this industry's most substantial charitable endeavors, and truly, as Louis B. Mayer said, something for the picture colony to be proud of. As we close out today's episode, here's a few things we're watching for. On Thursday, we'll be watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on a loop in the morning, of course, but at some point we'll zoom over to Zeem for a bit to watch that company's experiment with an alternate parade cast hosted by comedian Mike Young and some of his touring comedian friends as they also try to make a meal in a Times Square studio. It'll be streaming live from 8:30 a.m. to noon Eastern Time on Zeam.com. That's ZEAM.com. Next week comes Variety's annual Hitmakers issue and celebration. We highlight the people behind the biggest songs with the most spins in 2025. Sabrina Carpenter is our cover star. She's been Variety's best friend for a while, readily available and game to do fun things with us. She's a pro and it shows. Happy Thanksgiving, listeners. We hope the holiday finds you well and well-fed and enjoying some rest. It's surely going to be a busy December for this business. We love to hear from our listeners, so please send thoughts, gripes, and other feedback about Daily Variety to podcasts@variety.com. Before we go, congrats to VJ Carbone. He's joined Mubi as VP of Communications in the U.S. Carbone is going to steer U.S. campaigns for the French film distributor that is on the move. Before Mubi, he was a consultant to Amazon MGM Studios, and he spent 14 years at Focus Features. My colleague Elsa Kaslasi has the scoop. Thanks for listening. This episode was written and reported by me, Cynthia Littleton, with contributions from Clayton Davis. Sticks, Nicks, Hick Picks. Please leave us a review at the podcast platform of your choice, and please tune in tomorrow for a special Thanksgiving Day episode of Daily Variety.